This is a video about the peer review expectations for your contextual analysis 1.0. So at the very beginning of the quarter, I talked about the idea that writing is not a one and done thing, that it's a recursive process. And what we mean by that is that it's a process where you start by brainstorming an idea, you then begin drafting the idea, you then get feedback on that draft, you then revise based on that, you then draft again, you then get feedback again as well. So the key part of this is the idea of collaboration and feedback, so that it's not just you alone staring at the computer as well, is that this is something where you're working with another. So in the same way that we met in conference to talk about your proposal, your inquiry question, and you got feedback from there, and then based on that feedback, you begin drafting your contextual analysis, the peer review is kind of the next step in that as well. So this is the element where you are starting to get something down on paper. And I think this is another key point to this as well. A lot of times writers will kind of suffer from this paralysis early in the draft, where they feel like it's a waste of time unless the draft they do the first time is perfect. So it's got to be perfect. And that putting that pressure on yourself is actually the thing that often kind of slows you down, because you feel like, oh, if it's not perfect the first time, then I'm just wasting my time. But the reality is the imperfection is part of the process as well. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. It just has to be down. You just have to have it in a document that you can work with. So I think that's the thing that I would really encourage you when you're drafting this first one, is don't worry too much about whether or not you think it's absolutely the best way it could be. Just get something down, have it fulfill the page requirement. And what we're looking for here is 6 pages, double spaced, 12-point font. That's about 250 words, 275 words per page as well. Ultimately, we're doing it by word count as well, but kind of having that in mind specifically, since that's the type of document you're going to be turning in for the peer review process as well. So don't worry too much about the perfection. Just get something down, that you've got something you can provide feedback as well. The other thing I talked to people in conferences about was this idea that this peer review, these 2 peer reviews, are going to be a big part of the contract for a B. And not completing these 2 peer reviews, would end up being considered a breach of contract, resulting in the highest grade that you could get for the class would be a C. So it fulfills this element of engaging the process. And it's something that it's kind of, a lot of times I talk about, it's like suspending your disbelief, or kind of a leap of faith, of just kind of being sure that, like this is going to help as well. Now, traditionally, peer review is done with a peer, literally a student in your class, and that's how I normally hand it in a face-to-face format. But for asynchronous, hybrids, and synchronous online classes, I do use the tutors at the Writing Center. It actually helps, the kind of like, especially in hybrid format, if you don't have enough time in class to do it as well, that this way you can have a really good source of getting feedback on your paper. The University Center for Writing-Based Learning, or UCLBL as they call it as well, is a huge resource for your success as a writer and as a student at DePaul University. It's paid for by your tuition. It is something that you can utilize after graduation. It is something you can utilize for any class that you're taking at DePaul as well. And I really recommend it as a resource. All the tutors have been recommended for the position by instructors. All the tutors have gone through an extensive quarter-long tutoring pedagogy class as well. There's ongoing professional development during the time, each quarter that they work. And they generally are also just like you. They're students. So they've taken the same classes that you've taken. They've taken WRD 104. Oftentimes, many of them have actually taken my class and have literally worked on this assignment before. So they're a really great resource. The other thing about this is the fact that, and this is part of engaging process, this is part of the suspending your disbelief as well. A lot of times people just think, well, this is just a hoop that Edward's making us leap through. It's really not. As I said, this idea of writing as a social or collaborative opportunity, this is a huge thing where you are getting feedback on this draft. Now, I do say that if you just kind of think like, oh, well, I'm not going to get anything out of this, you won't get anything out of it. But if you kind of walk into it with an open mind, kind of fulfilling this idea of like, doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be on paper, you will get a lot out of this. I promise you the paper will be better. I promise that you will ultimately, most likely the grade will be better as well. So there are a couple of step-by-steps, and this video will help what you're doing as well. The first thing you need to do is set up an account with the Writing Center as well. There is a link in the week 6 module talking about this as well. And this is it where it takes you step by step as well, talk about what you want to end up doing. For this, you have kind of 2 options for the peer review. You can either do a face-to-face, or in this case, what we call synchronous, or if you're doing this as an online class, it would be like a video conference as well, or it can be a written feedback. So the written feedback process is an asynchronous, so you don't have to be available for the actual appointment time as well. So once you have made the account, you want to go ahead and make the appointment as well. So once you have logged in, it'll look something like this right here as well. Identify the day and time. And remember, and depending on which quarter or you're working on, dates may be a little bit different as well. But generally this is happening in week 7 of the quarter as well, Monday through Friday. You need to get an appointment. It can be depending on your availability, depending on your schedule. You can do it at any time during the day as well. Monday through Friday, the Writing Center is generally open from 9 in the morning till about 7 o'clock at night. On Fridays, it does open at 12 and then close at 5, so you have a bigger availability during the week itself. Identify the day that you want to work. So let's say, we'll say Danny here on a Tuesday. You want to set up the parameters for the time that you do. There ends up being a bio about it as well, so you can look at that if you'd like to do that. You want to set up the appointment type, so we'll say a written feedback as well. You do also want to give the tutor as much information as you can about the project as well. The more they know about what you're doing, what you're trying to do with this as well, the better they'll be able to provide the feedback as well. One of the things that I did is I do have a prompt for this assignment as well that I have uploaded to the week 6 module that you can download and then just upload for the tutor into WC Online. It has an overview of the contextual analysis, and it also has the checklist for the project as well. This will be super helpful. I think that helpful for you, but also helpful for the tutor as well. So once you have added all that information, you also want to make sure that you want to have the tutor send me a verification notice. So you can add my email address here as well and send there. There is a link here to either upload your written feedback, and I would do this for actually face-to-face appointments or the synchronous appointments as well, so the tutors have a copy of it. But you can also upload the prompt for the assignment, and then you create the appointment. So that's that section right there as well. So in terms of the other steps, is that add it in, have the tutor either work with them synchronously or asynchronous, have them send me the verification notice between Monday and Friday of the week right there as well. I think that's it for this right here. Oh, the other thing you might want to do is go ahead and pre-book all your appointments for this as well. So you need to do 2 during the course of the quarter. The dates for your particular quarter that you're doing it will be there. So if you want to, you can go in and set that up as well. Oh, the other bonus is the fact that all the tutors at the Writing Center are trained in digication as well. So if you'd like to talk to them about some issue that maybe you're having in digication and you want to do it as a synchronous appointment, they can help you with that as well. All right, I hope this was helpful.